Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Tried and Tested podcast. I am your host, Tracy, and this is a dating and relationship podcast where we talk about everything. Everything that comes with dating, relationships, marriage, makeups, breakups, confusion, situationships. What should you do? Oh, I can't even speak. What should you do? What do you think about this, that, and the third? So pretty much we just unpackage. Is unpackage a word? Mercy. We unpack different types of just dating and relationship scenarios, things I've been through, things my friends have been through, things that I may see online, and just questions that I have in general. So without further ado, I want to get right into our topic for today. And the topic that we have is church proposals, right? And so this was obviously inspired by the church that I go to. We have a number of women and men getting engaged as of recently. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the last couple of months, maybe the last 6 months or so, we've probably had about 7 or 8 engagements, which is a blessing. We thank God for that. And there have been about, I think 4 of them have been at our church. And usually they are on the altar, which we have like our stage or what have you. And it's at the end of service. And so I found myself, talking about this topic because we had one very recently, a couple of days ago. And it seemed that, it seems that with each one that happens, the proposal goes viral, like literally, wedding sites, blog sites and things all over. They'll, repost it and, go from there. So before we even get into that, normally what happens is when I see a proposal video, if it catches my attention, because some of them don't, if it catches my attention, I may take the time out and say congratulations, or I'll just keep it I'll keep scrolling. Like, how on social media you see something and you may or may not hit the like button and you may or may not comment because that kind of takes time out of your day. And I remember I saw one actually recently, and I remember all I thought was that I'm like, something don't seem right with this relationship. Because to me, I remember just thinking, I saw the guy and the girl, but he seemed to be trying to buy her. Like, she didn't really look too happy with him. Like, how when you're a woman in love and you see the man that you love, like, you light up, you're very, giddy, very childlike or whatever. So that's what I know love to be. Obviously, everyone is different. But I remember I saw, and he was, doing extravagant things. I think with the ring, I think he had bought her, a Rolex. And given her some other things at dinner. And then when she went outside, he had bought her a brand new, car. I don't really know much about cars, but it was like a SUV. It was nice. But it just kind of seemed like in order for him to solidify his engagement proposal to this woman, that he would really have to, dig in his pockets. And I was just like, I don't know. Because she didn't really look, But anywho, so like I said, something like that, I'll probably just, send it to my friends in a DM and kind of just state my thoughts and my opinions and whatnot. So back to what we're talking about as far as the church proposals. So, I saw a post where someone was like, oh my God, look at these comments. And because of that, I went to look at the comments. And at that particular time of day, I had time. I did have a little bit of time. So I'm like, okay, you know what? What are they talking about? So then I started seeing people, and these were people who were Christian and maybe people who were not Christian. I don't really know. But one of them definitely was, because she talked about how her parents was pastors, et cetera, et cetera. Anywho, there was an issue that seemed to be going on where they felt like you should not propose to your partner at church. And then I kept seeing as well, you shouldn't propose to your partner during service. So like I said, I did in the beginning say that none of the proposals were during service. They were all literally after the service was over, right before the benediction where we dismiss everyone. Obviously, we don't want to dismiss everyone. We want to celebrate. So that's first things first. But anyway, so as they were saying, like, it's like I've seen it's an abomination, it's disrespectful, it's worldly, it's this, it's that. All I could think was that, but people get married in a church. And the people who get married in a church are not just Christians, right? People who don't even believe in God. It's like, for whatever reason, there is something about getting married in a church and having a pastor marry you. So that to me was just like, okay, if believers and non-believers do that, right? And you're doing this because you want your marriage to be seen before God, like you want him to be accepting of it, then I wondered, why would a proposal be any different, right? I remember I responded to one girl. I'm like, well, this is both of their father's houses, right? But when I think of a proposal, like I literally have seen proposals everywhere. I have seen them at restaurants. I've seen one at KFC. I have seen them in hotel lobbies. I have seen them at dinner parties. I have seen them in children's toy stores. I have seen them, goodness gracious, on vacation. People propose in the club. Like, people propose in the car. I mean, of course, people may not accept it. Like, the woman may not agree with it. But I mean, I think a proposal can be done anywhere. And then one of the guys kept, and the Bible says this, that, and the third. And see, here's where I have a problem with that. Because one thing I don't like, and I don't even think I say this, like, if I do, I don't know. But I hate when people say, and the Bible says, and you're not telling me where it says it at, right? So, but I feel like, I've read the Bible back to back before. I don't remember half of what I read because at the time when I was doing it, I think the 2 times I did it like a storybook as opposed to getting revelation. But I don't ever recall reading or seeing like a list of appropriate places for you to display your love and your affection to the woman that you love. You know what I'm trying to say? But it's just kind of like, I think that the biggest like issue for me was, there is no way in the world that you can tell me that Christians getting proposed to at church is an issue, but it's not an issue to get married in the church. Like, the logic wheel was kind of rolling, and I'm like, no, this does not make any sense. Like, how could you say that? Now, if it was a pastor getting engaged at a club, okay, like, we know that you can't do that because you shouldn't be in a club anyway. But yeah, I was just really, really surprised because I'm just like, man, like, people really do just make stuff up. And like I said, even if you don't like a church, what would it bother you? Like, why would it make you so upset? Like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, where you should do it. Because literally anywhere you do, in a restaurant, when you do it, it's like, okay, people are eating. People are enjoying their meals. Or if you do it outside on vacation, if you do it in front of the Eiffel Tower, like, I don't see an issue about where you do it. But that was something that really, really, really surprised me, because I'm just like, what is the actual issue with a church proposal? What is the issue with any type of proposal? I've seen some, like I said, that are intimate. I've seen some that are public. But yeah, I don't know. So that was something that really was just on my mind, because I'm like, what are they talking about? What's the issue here? Like, I couldn't find the issue. And I mean, there was a few people that I responded to, and we kind of went back and forth. But what I also started to realize is that in 2023, for whatever reason, and it probably began in 2022 at the end of it, normally I see things on social media and I just kind of just keep it pushing. But when I started to see like certain things that just don't make any sense, I may say something one time and then keep it pushing, right? I'll make one comment and then people may comment after me and so on and so forth. And then some days I just feel like, listen, no, I got time today and I'm going to tell you about yourself. But yeah, I really wonder, like, when people make certain points, what now happens is, because they're wrong, then they now take the point that they're wrong about, and then they create an additional, storyline in their head, and then they want to argue about that. So one of the ladies was saying that by proposing to someone in church, it causes peer pressure. And I'm like, well, who does it cause peer pressure to, right? If anything, proposing at a church is free, right? I would think that peer pressure would be the story I mentioned earlier with the man buying a whole car, buying a Rolex, just doing too much. I've seen proposals on helicopter pads. I've seen dozens of flowers everywhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people do some really extravagant proposals, and I'm like, so maybe something like that, I feel like would constitute peer pressure. But I feel like, how is proposing at a church service, which costs you absolutely no money, how does that now cause peer pressure for other people? Meanwhile, like I said, we've had people who got proposed to at dinner parties. They got proposed to at places in New York City, just regular, people have had like private, dinners and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. And I'm starting to realize that the real issue here is not about the proposal, but it's more about God. And it's more about maybe like these people have an issue with God, or, and then I saw a man, like, and all these things that I'm seeing is because people are either posting it or like they're sending it to me, because I don't necessarily see it on my timeline. I don't necessarily see it on my page. And so this was a man who I believe was in the fivefold ministry. And he was just saying, like, what is this? What's going on with this proposal in the church? And I'm thinking, like, you would think these people were fornicating in the church. You would think these people were, selling drugs in the church. Meanwhile, we do have pastors who are talking about learning how to grow weed in the church. And we do have pastors who are in sororities and fraternities and who are strolling in the church, right? But you talking about somebody expressing their love and wanting somebody to, and also I believe one of the reasons why the woman had mentioned peer pressure was because it was almost as if you propose to someone in front of all of these people, you are peer pressuring them to say yes. And this got me into a whole nother topic, because I don't know how people date nowadays. Right now that I'm a Christian, I'm a real Christian, because I used to be Christian my whole life, I thought, and I wasn't a real Christian. But now I'm a real Christian, and I understand dating. I understand dating with intentionality, etc., etc. This is your friend. You guys are communicating. There is no way, in my opinion, and especially at my church, that you are dating someone, and most, like, as of now, majority of these proposals, people have either been friends for a good amount of time or they've been dating for a good amount of time. You talk about marriage. You talk about dating the person to marry them. You talk about intention. You talk about your future together. You talk about your goals, and you talk about the children that you want. Like, we have a marriage ministry, so you talk about marriage often. And I would think that usually when someone denies your proposal, it's because you're not on the same page communication-wise. It means that you didn't discuss it. It means that maybe there were issues that were not yet resolved, and the man just kind of ignored it and decided that, hey, I want to marry her. You get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, so in order for someone to deny your proposal, you have to have been out of touch with reality. Because if you're talking about marriage, you can see her facial expressions. You can see how she is behaving. You can kind of see, what she's thinking, what she's saying, how she feels about you. You should be probing, asking questions. And so the thing is not about if they're going to say yes, it's more or less, when are you going to propose, right? That is the goal of an intentional relationship and an intentional marriage, to be. You don't ignore certain things. You talk about them. You make it clear. You understand what's going on. So that's first things first. Second of all, I saw another post, once again, that somebody sent to me. And I'm not saying that they're talking about the particular proposal at my church, but because of the dates and things that were written, I do know that they probably were. And So the one girl was like, I'm not married yet, but I feel like, marriage is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not this. It's not that. It's not for fun. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, I don't have any statistics, but I know that at least one person gets engaged a day, right? So yet again, I'm trying to understand, like, what is it about it being at church that's the issue? Now, my church, I don't know how every other church does it, but I believe that at my church in particular, they have 6 months premarital counseling, right? And they also do HIV testing. They do pregnancy testing. Like, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes of getting to the altar, right? And I remember years ago, we were told, my first lady said it, and she was just like, when it comes to marriage counseling, even though you and your spouse to be are friends, when you go in there, you're not going in there as friends. You're going in there for war. So you guys can hash out things and you guys can get to the bottom of things so that you can enter into your marriage on a smoother note, right? Dealing with difficult things that people don't want to deal with. So when you hear people say they went to marriage counseling and it was quick and it was easy and it was this and it was that, they probably missed some things, right? Because it can't be that quick and that easy. You're bringing together two different people from two different walks of life, two different mentalities, upbringings, just everything. And you guys now have to live together for the rest of your life. Things are going to come up. And of course, when you're in love and you're ready to get married, you may not be thinking of all those things, but this is where, in addition, they also give a blood test. So there's many things that we're doing as preventative care, essentially, for this marriage to be something that's not going to just break in 2 days. Now, obviously, there is no rhyme or there is no foolproof way to make a marriage last. But I just want to say that we're not oblivious to what it takes to marry and to marry right. And that is what we're always taught, trying to marry right. So, like I said, back to this young lady talking about marriage is not just for fun. Like, I'm not sure how a proposal can allow you to feel like people are just oblivious to what marriage really is. But like I said, we have a mandate. If you want our pastors to marry you, it is a 6-month wait. It's a 6-month counseling process that you have to go through. I think some churches don't have any process. Some churches may have like a 1-day class. Some may have a 6-week class or what have you. You know what I'm trying to say? So we know that marriage is not a joke. So, all in all, what I'm trying to say is that I feel like if you're getting proposed to at church, I don't see any issue with it. I never thought about it before, but it to me seems like the most logical thing, the most logical place that you could get engaged, that it's probably the only place that would not seem abnormal, because it's like you're trying to say that you can't get engaged there, but you can get married there. That don't make no sense. It doesn't add up. And I pray that as I was writing in the comments, people were upset, but what do I care? You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's just like, I hope that when they read it, it kind of, gave them some type of like awakening where they kind of understood. And this girl sent me this whole this video talking about my parents as pastors and look at this. I'm like, girl, I don't know your pastors. I don't know your parents. I don't know what they're going through. But they may want to adopt something as, like a 6-month process where you don't just marry people and where you really break some things down. Now, I haven't seen it happen just yet, but I do believe that the purpose of premarital counseling at times is that you'll get the answer that, listen, I know you may love this person, but for reason A, B, C, and D, this may not be the route that you need to go. Or maybe you guys need an additional 6 months of counseling. There's a lot more that goes into this, but I just think that, I think it's bizarre. I think it's abnormal if a person could ever feel angry about someone getting proposed to at church. I think it's strange. And, yeah. So that's what I gotta say when it comes to church proposals, what I think about them. Yeah. So let me know what you guys think in the well, it's not comments. I don't know how this podcasting thing works, but you can send me an email. I'm gonna put my information in the description box. You can also send me a DM on Instagram. But let me know what your thoughts are. Like, what do you think about church proposals? What are your issues with them? What do you think people's issues are with them? And yeah, so on that note, I'm going to just say thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being here with me. And until next time, have a good one.